Humanity has a long history and relatively intimate ties to the Foreigners. Beyond just being the heirs to the Foreigner legacy and inheritors of the mantle of responsibility, it is in fact relatively well established in recent books that humanity and the Foreigners share a common ancestor, but that's a discussion for another time. The revelations that we come to during Halo Infinite and the suggestion that the Foreigners imprisoned the Endless because they threatened their design and their intentions on what should happen following the firing of the Halo array paints a rather grim picture about the Foreigners and their level of control over the galaxy. The suggestion being that the Foreigners wanted humanity, a species they had subjugated, altered the genetics of, and devolved to become the heirs of the Foreigners' legacy, and become inheritors of the mantle the way they saw it, and not the way the precursors originally intended. And the survival of a species like the Endless past the firing of the Halo array, meaning that they are effectively immune to the effects, threatened that legacy, that inheritance, that plan for control. So the Foreigners enacted what they did. They imprisoned the Endless and saw humanity reseeded to be the heirs of the Foreigner legacy, to become the Reclaimers. Whilst yes, other factors came into play during the elapsing 100,000 years, with other species evolving past our technological sophistication and then viewing us as enemies of their religion, the simple truth still stands that the Foreigners intended for us to be the Reclaimers, and they were willing to go to extreme lengths to make sure that that happened. Even perhaps to the point of watching us from afar since we were reseeded all the way through the modern era and out into the future in a manner that transcends the fourth wall. So the question is, are we being watched? Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00, and today's video focuses on something that transcends the Halo universe, actually intersects with our own real world, so to speak. Now, as we well know, Halo has a very interlinked history with our real world. We do apparently share a common history. The evolution of man on the plains of East Africa, the migration of humanity across the planet, the advent of technology and civilization, the continual advancement to our modern age with computers and the internet and mobile phones are all echoed in the Halo universe, if for different reasons. And today's little nugget of lore that led to this video intersects real-world discoveries based right here in our stellar backyard, so to speak. But to fully appreciate the context of this lore, we need to go back. During the Human-Foreigner War, circa 107,000 BCE, the Sanshayum allied with humanity in their conflict against the Foreigners. While humanity fought to defend itself and its territory, the Sanshayum fought to preserve their culture and autonomy, being regarded as majoritively peaceful. When the Human-Foreigner War reached its climax, the Sanshayum voluntarily surrendered to the Foreigners. After humanity was ultimately defeated by the Foreigners, their Sanshayum allies were also subjected to the consequences of opposing the Foreigner ecumene. The Sanshayum species underwent Foreigner interference in their genetics, and the Foreigners imposed a strict quarantine on the Sanshayum species, confining them to their homeworld, Janjur-Kum, and 2 other inner planets of the system. The quarantine was enforced by the Confirmer, a grizzled warrior servant, aboard the Foreigner Fortress-class vessel, the Deep Reverence, an old friend and mentor of the Didact himself. The Confirmer, aboard his ship, patrolled the region to prevent any unauthorized travel, with the goal of the quarantine to limit the Sanshayum's development and prevent them from becoming a future threat. Over 1,000 years after their quarantine, the Deep Reverence continued to watch over the system. However, after this amount of time, the Confirmer had grown lax in his duties. When the Librarian arrived to index the species for the conservation measure, the Sanshayum realized a catastrophe was imminent and launched a brief but very aggressive uprising against the Foreigners. It is unknown what the final fate for the Deep Reverence was, whether it was destroyed or captured by the Sanshayam or simply retreated from the system. In either case, the point is moot, as the Foreigners killed all Sanshayam left in the system with a tactical pulse from a halo, and in short order thereafter, the halo array itself was fired, and the galaxy cleansed of all sentient life. This, however, is not the only incident of an immense Foreigner ship being in a location that could be construed as being overwatching a planet. Prior to 648 BCE, another Foreigner Fortress-class vessel was discovered in orbit over Tuluk Catho. The ship was entirely derelict, but its stable orbit and position above the planet seemingly suggested that it found its way there through the intentional actions of its crew, as the odds were astronomically unlikely that such a vessel could simply drift into a stable orbit above a planet. In this case, however, the vessel became the construction site of the Covenant Holy City of High Charity, with the Fortress-class vessel's superstructure becoming the spine of the gods, the massive tail trailing below High Charity's dome. In both of these cases, a large, powerful Foreigner vessel was deliberately positioned in a stable orbital position around a star to seemingly enable the active overwatch and monitoring of a planet or system. Given the importance that humanity held in regards to the Foreigners' legacy, it wouldn't then be particularly surprising if the Foreigners didn't implement a similar kind of system to keep a watchful eye over their inheritors. And there may just be evidence to suggest exactly that. In Halo Mythos, a book released in September of 2016, on pages 50 and 51, you get a display of the Sol system, of our solar system, showing the planets that humanity had colonized. And to the astute among us, they will notice an anomaly and exclusion zone around the planet of Uranus, with a sequence of numbers and letters reading 2011 QF99, which just so happens to be the designation of a minor planet from the outer solar system. It is basically a Trojan asteroid orbiting in the Lagrange point of the gas giant, and was the first Uranus Trojan to be discovered back in 2011. It measures approximately 60 kilometers or 37 miles in diameter, and was discovered during a deep survey of trans-Neptunian objects conducted with the Canada-France-Hawaii telescope. However, its identification as a Uranian Trojan wasn't announced until 2013. 2011 QF99 temporarily orbits near Uranus's L4 Lagrangian point, a location of even gravitational forces from Uranus and the Sun, leading Uranus in its orbit around the Sun. It will continue to liberate around L4 for at least 70,000 years to come, and has likely been there for just as long, if not longer. Even after this 70,000 year period, it will remain a Uranus co-orbital for up to 3 million years. Uranus Trojans are generally expected to be unstable, and none of them are thought to be of primordial origin. A simulation led to the conclusion that at any given time, 0.4% of the centaurs in the scattered population within 34 astronomical units would be Uranus co-orbitals, of which 64% would be in horseshoe orbits, 10% would be quasi-satellites, and 26% would be Trojans, evenly split between the L4 and L5 groups, which means that 2011 QF99 represents a 0.104% chance of being where it is, when it is. Now, of course, since Mythos was published in September of 2016, it could likely simply be that whomever it was that put this little piece of lore in there liked that there was a recent discovery of a Uranian Trojan and added in a little piece of lore into the mythos to kind of honour it. And of course then we can only really speculate on what that little nugget of lore was referencing to. However, I find it particularly interesting that the size of 2011 QF99 is around 60 kilometers in diameter. because it just so happens that Foreigner Fortress-class vessels measure around 50 kilometers in length. So is it possible that, much like the ship Deep Reverence that was watching over the Sanshayam homeworld of Janjor-Com, does the Sol system have a Fortress-class vessel silently watching over it, shrouded in ice and rock from 1,000 centuries of neglect, and that during humanity's expansion across our solar system, an entity like the Office of Naval Intelligence detected the anomaly from within 2011 GF99 and thus designated it as an exclusion zone to keep other interested eyes away from whatever may lurk within. Much like the mass relay in Mass Effect that lurked at the outer edges of our solar system near Pluto, entirely shrouded in rock and ice, does a Fortress-class Foreigner vessel also lurk within the ice and stone husk of 2011 QF99? And more intriguingly, contained within, could there be the remains of a Foreigner Promethean, or the durances of fellow Foreigners and Ancilla, Foreigner weapons, or worse, flood specimens, locked away within an icy tomb for 100,000 years? And until next time. Thanks for watching. If you haven't already, consider hitting the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss out on future content, and hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. It really does help the channel out significantly. Feel free to pop a comment below on anything you'd like me to cover next, and before signing off I just want to give a shout to my Patreon supporters, Spartan10148, my singular Contender class Ancilla, Falcon, Jordan and Poseidon, the Metarchs of my facility, Sylphia, Ashley, Esoteric, Spartan 1029 and Chris Allen, my dutiful monitors, Darian, Legion, Labrat, Spartan 137, Chris, Element 0, J3, Mr. Keys, Gunslinger Cult, Evermore's Personal Devil, Scion Esports, and Saber, my diligent sub-monitors, my dominating fleet of Strato Sentinels, and my loyal enforcers, and all other patrons who continue to support the channel. I can't thank you guys enough. Big props to my Tier 0 YouTube members, Spartan 137, Talia, Fenrir, Bornstella, and Jimbo, and all other YouTube members keeping the installation running on that glorious vacuum energy. And if you really love what I'm doing here, consider supporting the channel via the links in the description. Much love, take it easy, and find peace in the domain.